Okay, great. We are going to kick it off to the team at OwnTrail. Rebecca, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Super.
Okay, great. So in terms of intro first, my name is Rebecca Bastian, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of OwnTrail. I just started full-time on OwnTrail this spring. We launched in February after being at Zillow for 15 years. So I was there since the beginning. I was vice president of product and then vice president of community and culture. And that's really where my passion lies, is that intersection of equitable systems, social impact, and product strategy. And so I'm really loving working on OwnTrail now through that lens. I started off this journey by writing a book, which is called Blaze Your Own Trail, and that kind of morphed into this platform. So it's almost accidental entrepreneurship, but it's really taken on a huge life of its own, and I'm so excited to tell you about OwnTrail here today. So I will go ahead and share my screen and jump into the pitch. And here it is. See that okay? Great, okay. Our journeys are far from linear, but so many young women think they're supposed to be. I'm having a virtual coffee with Alice. She's 28 and is uncertain about where she's headed in life and how she'll get there. She's worried she's going to get it wrong. She asked me questions like, how did you know where you wanted to go or what you wanted to do? How did you make a big career switch? How did you balance work and motherhood? I assure her that it's okay, there is no one right path. Some of the most fulfilling experiences in life aren't the ones we planned for. As I share more with her about my twists and turns and the path I've taken, she seems empowered to go back out there and kick ass. And my ability to help her feels good to me too. The problem with this story is that there are countless other women just like her who could use a similar coffee chat. Way more than I'll ever be able to say yes to having coffee with, even though I prioritize time for those meetings. And even Alice will need more inspiration and different perspectives as she continues to navigate her path. And to be honest, I will too, as I navigate my own journey. Over 75% of women wish they were giving and receiving more mentorship. Traditional one-on-one mentorship is time-consuming, it's oftentimes inaccessible, and it's leaving women behind. We created OwnTrail to solve the problems that lead women to saying, I want a mentor, or I want to be a mentor. By creating a data-centric collection of women's life paths, we're scaling the inspiration and the guidance found in mentorship and helping women discover not the right path, but their path. Women can share the trail they've blazed through life as a series of interconnected milestones. We call this a micro-active mentorship. They can then browse through the trails of other women, filtering them down if they choose to see ones that share their same identities or experiences, in order to gain inspiration, solidarity, and guidance. They can ask and answer questions through conversations on those trails to dig deeper into the experience that resonate most with them. We're creating moats of unique content, rich data, and engaged users. So OwnTrail is structured by data and powered by community. We've been organically growing our user base through word of mouth, with women proudly sharing their trails with friends and inviting inspirational women to share theirs as well. And we've been partnering with organizations that support women through different life stages, identities, and industries. So through these organic user acquisition strategies, we already have almost 1,000 registered users and over 375 trails published since we launched in February. While we're still pre-revenue, we're getting ready to start monetizing through a subscription-based peer-to-peer coaching model that taps into the $10 billion self-improvement industry in the US. That industry is made up of 70% women. We have an incredible women-led team working on this with really strong founder market fit. My co-founder, Katie, who's on here too, and I are both leaders in many women's communities. And all of us on the team have really extensive experience and track records building both brands and tech products. We also have really amazing advisors helping us along, and so they've been really key to have in our corner. The trails that are being shared so far are uniquely authentic and inspiring. I encourage you to go to owntrail.com and check some of them out. It's really incredible, the vulnerability we're seeing shared there. And the feedback that we've been hearing, both from women and from the press, has been overwhelmingly positive. We closed a $250,000 friends and family round through a convertible note, and we're preparing to raise our seed round this fall. we're interested in talking with investors that have experience in machine learning, network effects, and redefining consumer behaviors, and who are just as passionate as we are about empowering women. If anyone here is interested in being part of taking OwnTrail to that next level, I would love to talk with you. And with that, I will open it up to questions.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. Anybody who has a question for OwnTrail can throw it into chat. Rebecca, can you quickly go over, you mentioned a family and friends round. Can you just tell a little bit, maybe from the product standpoint, a little bit more detail on maybe how far that got you?
Yeah, we have some good runway now, and we're actually supplementing that currently with a crowdfunding campaign that's active right now as well, in which we're really growing awareness and testing out some of our business models as well. But the Friends and Family round, because we have really low overhead, gives us a solid 9 months runway from where we are right now. What we've been building out so far has been, we launched with the ability for women to share their trails and then browse through those trails one by one. Since launch, we've added the ability for women to filter their trails, both by identity and experiences. And we've launched some interactive features, so the ability for women to show appreciation on each other's trails and, as of last week, have conversations on those trails. So what we're doing next is we're going to be launching the ability for women to share what they aspire to in their trails. And then from there, we've started dabbling into some machine learning, which we're really excited about. So kind of the future of where we're going with this is really understanding the data being shared and using that to both create a personalized experience for the women on OwnTrail in terms of seeing where they might want to be going next and getting that inspiration. Building that peer-to-peer coaching business model on top of that, really driven by machine learning, and then also getting data in aggregate that really impacts the systems that work for or against women, and how decisions are made around women's lives with data that has been previously unavailable. So we have runway to be making some good headwinds there, and we're raising this next seed round in order to really let us level up the offerings there and accelerate some of that work.
Great. We have a question from James Sowers. How do you plan to keep bias out of the machine learning aspect of it?
Yeah, so what we're really focused on is understanding the similarities and intersections between trails. So, being able to look at scenarios like, this is something you're navigating in life. What are all the different paths that women have taken to this point and from here? And what are the ones that you can relate to the most in terms of solidarity? And what are the ones that are the most inspirational to you? Same with, looking at places that we aspire to and all the different paths there. And so we'll have feedback loops built into that in terms of getting feedback from women about those similarities. And it's going to be one of these kind of living, breathing models that is continuously evolving based on what's most impactful and powerful to women. And so the model itself, because it's driven by what we need to see, how our trails intersect and how they can inspire us, and we get constant feedback on how that's working, then we'll be able to eliminate the bias from that.
Great. Question from Adam Grill. How do you make money for the mentors, if at all?
Yeah, so on OwnTrail, every woman is a mentor. Every woman has a story to tell. So there's not really a binary between I'm looking for mentorship and I'm giving mentorship, because we are all both. We do have the peer-to-peer coaching model that we're building on top of that, recognizing that while OwnTrail is self-guided for everybody, there will be a subset of our users who want additional guidance and support as they navigate their trail. And with that, we'll be using a subset of our most power users who are vetted and trained to be what we call trail guides. And women will pay a monthly subscription fee to be paired with these trail guides, and we'll be doing a revenue share with the trail guide. So we'll be compensating those most engaged users for their time working on the OwnTrail framework.
Great. And last question before we move on. Claire Moy is wondering how you plan to advertise your product and reach new mentors, users, etc.
Yeah, so all of our growth has been organic so far, and we really are leaning heavily on organic growth because it really gives us this authentic, engaged foundation of our user base. We're scaling that through partnerships, as I mentioned, that support organizations that support women. And by working with them, it really gives us the ability to go very broad in what we're offering in order to create a really diverse set of trails on the platform, because these organizations are going deep with their members. And by us providing the technology for organizations to connect their members based on shared experiences and providing them with data around the experiences that their members have in their lives, then that gives us this one-to-many user acquisition strategy. And that, coupled with kind of, essentially the virality of women sharing their trails and inviting other women, is going to allow us to keep growing organically for quite a while.
Great. Rebecca, thank you. I know your business partner, Katie, is on too. Thank you both. We are going to move on to, yeah, no problem. We're going to move on to LexGraft. We've got Tay, and I also know that her business partner's on as well. So welcome both of you. Tay, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. My name is Tiani, and apologies for my background. I am at a bookstore in Connecticut because I haven't had electricity for the last 48 hours at home. So really making it, trying to make it work. I'm here representing LexGraft with my co-founder, Max. We met at Cornell. We were both completing our master's degrees. I'll let Max introduce himself and then kick off our presentation.
Yeah, so I'm Max. I'm the CTO with a background in data scientist. Tiani has the background in law. So together we're really looking for bringing professional services and clients to a more equitable space. Share my screen. There we go.
As we mentioned, that's a little bit of background about who we are. And what we're doing at LexGraft is that we pair your passion with a professional. Because starting something new is exciting, but in order for you to be successful, you need a professional network in order for you to have that success. And when you're starting something new in a new industry, you're often under-networked in that industry. And the best professionals are relationship-based, and they rely on their existing networks for most of their referrals. Therefore, you find a disconnect of the committed starters who are passionate about what they're doing and the professionals and experts that are there to help them, and there's no way for them to be able to meet each other. And that's why we have built LexGraft, where our vision is to be the trusted professional platform for anyone starting something new. And our mission is to evolve traditional referral networks and create an equitable way for anyone to access the help that they need. And we think this is the right time to be working on this because people are always looking to start something new. In the face of this pandemic that we're all facing, so many people have lost jobs, and this might be an opportunity. They're looking at this as an opportunity for them to start something of their own, fulfill a passion or a hobby that they've had for a long time. And professionals are looking to expand their pool of clients. We've seen that through even platforms like this, where people are looking to expand their networks beyond the people that they know, because we realized that with everything that happened a few months ago with the various political protests and so forth, that people might not be growing out their networks in beyond the people that they know. And that's why we think this is a great time to be doing this, as well as the state of technology with natural language processing allows for various customizations, which Max will touch on as we proceed. Our solution at LexGraft is that we source the committed starters. So we go out and we find people that are committed to something new. Then we use our AI to vet and match them to the professional services that they need. And we are really proud of the fact that we're building up our AI to be free from human bias. The connection that we make for the professional and the startup, and the person starting something new, we say that is as good, if not even better, than the type of connection that they would make or receive from someone that they know in their personal network or someone that's a friend. And for us, what's really important is that we start to foster long-term partnerships between the professionals as well as the people that we connect them to. Over the spring, we held a pilot where the focus of the pilot was to help startups that had been affected by the coronavirus. We asked 5 lawyers to donate their time to be able to work with these startups. So we asked them to donate their time either for free or on a 1 hour paid, 1 hour free basis. And we were able to connect 20 startups, and Max will get into exactly the technology that we used to be able to do that. But the purpose of the pilot was for us to be able to confirm that, first of all, we have the ability to source startups. Our technology works in the sense that it can vet and make the right types of matches, and that our professionals and startups are interested in this type of platform. The feedback that we received from the pilot was really strong, and it shows us that on both ends, we were able to satisfy and meet their needs. So the professional was really happy with the quality of the startup that we matched them with, and the startup was really happy and satisfied with the way that our platform works.
So our technology really needs to do two things. It needs to vet the potential clients as they come in and match them to the right professionals. So we use natural language processing on an inputted body of text that we get from whoever is starting something to vet based on your domain experience and excitement, not the school you went to, the funding for your project, the connections that you have, or any of these characteristics. And then finally, our matches will be based intelligently on your budget, the stage of your project, and the industry experience of the professional, where we're saying that your match will not be based on the professional who provides basically the lowest bid. Our total addressable market here is $1.5 trillion when we look at revenue generated by these relationship-based professionals. So professionals like lawyers, accountants, people managers, engineers, consultants, advisors, PR, editors, publishers, etc. Business model we use right now on our platform is that we pay per transaction. So clients will come in, they have tiered matching options based on how much customization and foresight they want with their matches, and the professionals will pay $200 per introduction. In the future, we really want to move to more of a marketplace where a lot more of the transactions happen within our platform. However, we'll need more bandwidth to do that. In terms of the landscape, our landscape really falls into three buckets: freelance marketplaces, headhunters and marketing agencies, and listing platforms. We're different from these because our scalable AI makes connections based on the values of the founder and professional, not just the resumes and the needs. So that means that our introductions will go beyond one-time projects that are basically handled by freelancers and create long-term partnerships for our law firm, our quality law firm partners. Emphasis on not being freelancers. In terms of the next steps, right now we're raising $500,000 in a pre-seed round for 18 months of runway. This will help us develop out our beta, which we'll be launching within the week, which will stay within the legal and startup industry and really prove out and really expand upon our artificial intelligence, gather data for that, and prove out our business model. Afterwards, we plan to expand quickly into other professional industries, as well as starting verticals such as publishing a book, starting a skincare line, and starting a restaurant. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both. And also you may, if you want to pop into chat, you can drop one of your emails or contact information if you'd like to. Or again, people are welcome to go through myself. Questions for LexGraft can go in the chat. A quick question, could one of you quickly talk in a little bit more detail about traction you've had so far? Got some great testimonials. Can you go in a little bit more on what that looks like, anything you might have in the pipeline?
Okay, sure. So in terms of our traction so far, we've been able to get all the pilot, the law firms that worked with us on the pilot have signed on again for us to be able to do the beta. So we are launching a beta over this next week that's going to be really focused on getting the professionals, the startups at a point of payment. So in our first pilot, we were able to make the great matches and connect people in that way. However, it didn't result in revenue for the professionals because the startups weren't really at that point where the need that they had was urgent enough. So now we're focusing on getting the right types of companies that are at that point of payment. And we're really looking and sourcing these companies through expanding a little bit beyond organic, but going into platforms that we know that startups or people that are looking to start something new exist. So which is your social media, as well as Slack channels and so forth, where you would find a number of these. So it's a beta, but it's still relatively small because we just want to focus on doing a good job with being able to make matches for the professional partners that we have so far.
Great. Thanks, Tay. And then have you thought about, you mentioned a couple of potential industries to expand into. Have you thought about which ones might be more attractive on the shorter term, sort of one of the first couple of industries that you could expand into?
So other industries that we look to expand into, coming out of helping, so right now it's about helping people, first-time founders, be able to start a business. Coming out of that is helping first-time authors to write a book, because we've seen that there's a lot of focus around people starting to do a lot of their own personal storytelling.
Interesting. Okay. We also have a question from Amber Porter. What is the current difference in pricing tiers for clients seeking a match?
So the current, what differentiates the tiers is the level of urgency.
Yeah.
Oh, that that the startup has. So if you will pay, if it's free, we'll match within 24 hours and we'll only give you one match. If you are paying $50, we will match you within 3 hours and we will give you 3 matches. And then the type of support, we'll support you over phone if you have any additional queries. And then if you pay $150, we'll match you within the hour, and we will give you 5 matches, and then one of us will do a consult with you before you speak with the attorney that we put you in touch with, so that we can make sure that you go into your consultation prepared.
Great. Thank you. It looks like we don't have any other questions at the moment. Again, anybody can reach out directly to the LexGraft team or go through us. Thank you both for hopping on. We are going to move on to Ejen at Human. Jen, are you ready?
Ready.
Cool.
All right. Can you see my screen? Oh, sorry. Before I share my screen, let me give a quick intro about myself. So background on me, I'm Ejen, CEO, founder of Human. My background is primarily in digital audio product management. So did my undergrad at Wharton, worked at Microsoft for a couple of years, then went and led mobile product at Amazon Music for 6 years. After that, led product management at a music streaming startup called Rdio, which is now acquired by Pandora. And then after that, joined a startup founded by a couple of guys from Rdio called Mezi. We're an AI chatbot, and we were one of the very few AI chatbots that reached product market fit. This is about 5 years ago. And we exited in 2 years for $130 million. In parallel, personal growth journey for me, 7 years ago, got really into mindfulness, meditation, etc. It was one of like late 20s, anxiety, like what am I doing with my life situations? Got very far down the rabbit hole about 4 years ago, tried coaching and absolutely loved it because it was so accessible. I loved that it was conversational. It wasn't as difficult as meditation. Got myself trained as a coach. Within a year and a half after getting trained, I coached for more than 3,000 hours. And after Mezi got bought, I started an executive coaching company called Moment, which today runs on the side. We coach 60 to 70 employees at Facebook every month and our 360K ARR business. So that's the background on me. I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna talk about Human. So can you all see my screen? Yes? Okay, cool. All right, so Human, become your best self with the world's top mentors. And so basically the problem we're solving is coaching, is something that is best in class. Steve Jobs had a coach, right? Every Olympic athlete has a coach. When it comes to personal, professional stuff, coaching is an amazing solution, right? But it's just not modern. It's really expensive, right? It could be thousands of dollars a month, if not hundreds. It's high commitment, right? So like many of us want to be the best leader in the world, yet we don't know about scheduling a 1 hour standing meeting on our calendar for 4 months, right? Or like we want to be a really good parent, but like not enough to read 200 pages in a book, right? Hard to find the right one. Like how many people can relate, trying to find a therapist, trying to find a coach, you don't know where to begin. And it's also not immediate. We're in an on-demand economy, right? But you don't have your coaching session for another 3 days, but you have an issue now. What do? Right? And so even despite all of that, right, coaching is a massive business, right? All those roadblocks aside, it's still $16 billion when you combine US business and personal coaching each year, right? But we know that the demand is actually far bigger than $16 billion, right? Because just like nobody's actually looking for, like when you get an Uber, you're not looking for a car, you're looking for transport, right? When you get a coach, you're actually not looking for a coach. You are looking for expert guidance, right, on personal and professional growth related things. And so what is the actual demand? Well, $10 billion in US self-improvement every year, right? Audiobooks, seminars, et cetera. $154 billion in US corporate training every single year, right? We've all been to crappy, expensive manager trainings. And then not to mention a bunch of unmonetized demand, right? If you go on Google and search how to have a difficult conversation, your very first result is going to be a Forbes listicle, right? Like kind of not an awesome solution, not to mention 300 million people a month go on Quora asking these kinds of questions. So we know there's massive demand here that's underserved. Now, we're addressing, democratizing the expert guidance through audio, right? And why audio, why now? Many of us know audio is really big, right? Calm in itself, Calm and Headspace each make more than $150 million a year in revenue, right? If we look at US audiobooks, it's up 16% year over year. If we filter that by US self-improvement audiobooks, it's actually up 25% year over year, right? So it's disproportionately high in audio because people want something that is highly personal and experiential. All aided by, advancements in hardware and especially in these times, Zoom fatigue. Not to mention, so guidance is something that has never been more important, right? With the social issues, the economic issues, with the health issues, right? So what we are creating is a new format, right? We looked at all those things that don't work about coaching today and deconstructed it and put it back together in a way that is bite-sized, right? That is in audio, that is on demand. So ultimately, we like to say that we are TikTok meets Calm, right? We are this low commitment entryway for you to begin consuming little audio bits by coaches, therapists, successful people, authors, people who have this expert guidance. And once you get interested, we've seen this over and over again in all our beta tests. Once you get interested, there are going to be coaches you want to work with. There are going to be issues like, wow, I want to really address my social anxiety, right? And so I'm actually going to pop out and demo my, just scroll through my app really quick so you can see. Sorry, hold on. Waiting for this to work. 7593. All right. So this is the app. So far, it's in private beta, iOS only. And you can see, right, it looks a lot like Twitter. It's going to go through some interface changes as well. We're constantly working on it. But you can see that, it has a lot of these social characteristics. You can play. It'll just play through the next and the next. Once one finishes, it has the ability to comment. So people can go in there and they can ask questions to a coach. You can bookmark it and save because personal growth is all about reinforcement. And you can go into any one of these coaches' profiles, you can contact them, etc. Right? So this is it's an opportunity to create a infinitely scaling expert platform. Other things, you can go in there as a coach and record. You can search, right? So let's say right now I'm dealing with a difficult member of my team and I really need to get them motivated somehow, and I can find talks related to motivation. You can see over here also Dr. Julian Neal. Who is Dr. Julian Neal? He's actually Larry David's therapist. So we have incredible people, right? We have a couple of former coaches of Stuart Butterfield on here as well. And the last thing I want to highlight over here is that on the lower right-hand corner of every single one of these talks is a share button. And when you hit that share button, you can see that all of this content actually automatically has a web page created for it. That makes it incredibly easy for us to virally spread and piggyback off of existing social networks. So just for example, 58% of our listens each week come from outside of our app rather than inside of our app for that reason. Just to give you a sense of what that looks like when you share a really simple page where you can play. Okay, so that is the app. Let me go back into the slides. More scalable, higher margin, always good things. And so ultimately what we want to create, right? When you think recruiting, you think LinkedIn today, right? When you think personal growth, you really don't think anything. And so we have the opportunity to really take over the personal and professional growth space, right? Like instead of, we've been in a world where you can sell physical goods, right? Like buy a car to make yourself feel better about yourself, right? Or watch a Netflix movie, buy a digital good, right? we think that there's a really interesting opportunity where what we're selling is not physical, it's not digital, it's personality traits you've never had, right? It is an experience of life that you've never had that you can now get on our platform. I'm gonna just fast forward here. So the creator experience, we call this a creator experience. Unlike Headspace and Calm, which is pre-created content, we're content that can infinitely grow, that has a lot of intrinsically motivating factors, or maybe extrinsically motivating factors, but the creators on our platform love creating. It's a frictionless experience, it's really gamified, and they also have opportunities for rev share as we monetize, as well as naturally leads. So many opportunities to monetize. We are gonna go forth with a freemium model. Although we're gonna start off entirely free, it's gonna be free through the rest of this year. As we work on engagement, we want it to be as frictionless as possible. And then next year, we're gonna begin selling. Many early indicators that are great: 37 minutes listened per week per users, 18% 3-month retention that we saw in a test that we ran several months ago. And we are also partnered with some amazing people. Nir Eyal, for example, he is the author of a book called Hooked. He has more than 400,000 followers on different social networks, and he's partnered with us to post every single week. He actually just started posting last week into his LinkedIn. And in a survey that we ran in a test last year, we found that 63% of people said that they would be willing to pay a subscription for this product. And that is it.
Great. Thank you so much. Questions for Human can go in our chat. Couple to start. First of all, are you fundraising, or are you thinking about fundraising in the future?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to unshare this thing. Okay, there we go. Yes, so we raised 310K last year. And that was, you know, I had a co-founder then, and we were kind of started off in a different direction. So Human is kind of something that actually began this February. And now we're raising $1 million. And the goals with that are to really reach product market fit, right? Really master those engagement loops, and also begin monetizing next year.
Great. And then we have a couple questions in chat, but one more on the content space. I heard you say you've partnered with a couple people. Once a creator gets in there, you know, they sort of have a little bit of incentive. How do you actually choose the people? What kind of is the process of getting that content in there, or the creators? Are you curating them? Can anybody hop on? What's that process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now, everybody's handpicked. You know, we think that it's going to be really key in the initial user experience that everything that they listen to is top quality, right? So we're operating through my network. We're also partnered up with a executive coaching firm and some top tier therapists, et cetera. And then over time, our plan is to gradually open up and allow more people. It's still going to be slightly gated for quite some time. But I should mention, we're beginning with the working professional vertical, right? That's why we have a lot of coaches. But over time, we see this being any kind of expert: parenting, anxiety, dating, etc.
Great. Questions from the audience. Can you talk a bit about competition in the space?
Yeah. So as far as competition goes, you know, I think the natural, you know, examples people have in their head are like meditation apps, right? And there are a number of like more coachy apps, like Luminary, for example, that have pre-created content. So these are apps that have like pre-recorded content that are just sitting there, right? And we think we actually have a very different approach, because we can have infinitely scaling content that can tap into infinitely, you know, the different kinds of needs that people have in different kinds of niches. Other sorts of competition are traditional coaching, right? Which we discussed has a bunch of roadblocks, it's really expensive, etc. And then there are other sorts of like apps, or I should mention, they're more like social networks, right? So today, if I have a question about personal growth, I might go into watch a YouTube video, right? Or I'm a startup founder, my Twitter looks like I'm following a whole bunch of like growth experts and like investors and things like that, right? So those are other places, but we think we're actually far more effective, right, than they are. Like while we have bite-sized content, we're building a lot of personalization features, a lot of reminder features that are ultimately gonna lead us to give you real results rather than just little tidbits of information.
Great. Question on customers. Who exactly are your customers, and where do you find them, and plans for, and then leading into plans for growing users after the private beta?
Yeah, so our customers right now, many of them are friends and family. We ran a test last year that we had more than 500 users actually using Facebook ads, right? So these were just like, it was like middle school bus driver, right? Like 21-year-old babysitter in Indiana. So we know there's a ton of demand out there. What we decided is going to be the tip of the arrow for us is working professionals. And that's just because it happens to be a network that, you know, we have, that I have, and that I have a playbook that's worked with this other executive coaching company of mine. So, you know, once we get out of beta, I think to answer your question, like, how do we plan on acquiring users? Yes, part of it is going to be through our network, but you know, I think the name of the game for a small startup is piggybacking, right? So part of our solution is, as I mentioned in the product, every single one of these web pages is, every single one of these talks is highly shareable through these web pages. So we're seeing a lot of that happen on social networks already. We are also automatically transcribing the audio in each of those shareable web pages. And what that means is it makes it really crawlable by Google, right? If you're searching how to have a difficult conversation and your results are all these random articles, we know it's really fragmented and we have a shot at becoming the top result that people see. We also saw that 21% of our coaches actually post 6 or more times a week, right? And that means our content is going to balloon in a major way and make it very findable. Also partnerships with people like Nira Yal, you know, having coaches on board like Larry David's therapist, we strategically chose the coaches and therapists in the beginning who have high profile clients, because that way their high profile clients are probably going to be the first consumers of their content. And as they share out, their networks are going to find out really easily. And then furthermore, with working professionals, the natural lead in early next year that we're going to do is selling it into companies. Right. And so as far as piggybacking off of like central sales efforts, we can go into companies like Facebook, we can go into companies like Uber, and the executive coaches that we're partnered with working in those companies are easy kind of leads into there.
Great. Okay, wonderful. 1 or 2 other questions if you want to pop in. Also question about if there's a URL, if beta's open. You can pop into chat if you'd like to address those. Jen, thank you so much. We are going to move on to our last pitching company. We have Ashley at Mixtroz. Ashley, do we have you? I know you popped off there quickly.
Yes, I'm here.
I think I saw you back. Super, thanks. I'm going to kick it over to you.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. Nice to meet everybody. So quick overview background on me. I'm Ashley Ammons. I'm currently in Birmingham, Alabama, where our headquarters is for Mixtroz. Mixer and introduction smushed together. But I am from Cleveland, Ohio, which is where my career journey got its start. When I was in undergrad, I landed an internship as LeBron James' first intern. So I was with LeBron and his team for 2.5 years. I then moved to New York City, and I started off as an executive assistant, and I worked my way to director of events at a luxury hospitality company. So over the course of my career, I've produced events for brands like Coca-Cola and Nike. My longest tenure was with Moet Hennessy doing their national event production nationwide. But I've also done events for talent like Oprah, Leonardo DiCaprio, anywhere from about $10,000 upwards of a few $1 million. So my background is experiential event production. So with that, let me share my screen so I can introduce you all to Mixtroz. All right, so Mixtroz is a tool that can be used anywhere that 50 or more people are gathered, live or virtually, and it is used to increase engagement and also collect data. So I want you all to come back with me to a time when we were all still meeting in person, live, face-to-face, and think about the behavior that you had at the last event that you attended. Did you maybe go to that event with someone that you know and then stick with them for the duration of the event? Or maybe you went to the event alone and you had the best intentions to meet new people, but when it came time to do so, you tended to gravitate towards people that you already know, or you inexplicably gravitated towards people who look like you. Or maybe, and this one is the most egregious, maybe you went to the event, you couldn't find anyone to easily connect with, So you got on your smartphone, you found a corner, and you disengaged from the room completely. This is all bad for business, and it does indeed present a problem. We created our software Mixtroz to solve for this problem. So we are a software that can be used wherever people gather to drive them from their phone to face-to-face, real-time group networking. By doing this, we are able to increase engagement and generate useful data for our key stakeholders, which are organizers, event attendees, and also event sponsors. So the way that our software works is pretty simple. We have a SaaS platform that our event organizers utilize. They set up their mixes there. This process takes them 30 minutes or less. On the event day, their attendees access our app, either web or native, and they go through our Mixtroz process, which is about 2 minutes. It includes setting up a virtual name tag and answering a series of custom questions. Based on the way those questions are weighted against our algorithm, the attendees are then put into small groups of 3 to 10 for real-time group networking at their event. Our application shows them where they're going to meet their group, and once they get to their group, it provides them with conversation starters to get that engagement started. Also, their group data, so they can see where there's similarity and difference lies. At the same time, all of that collected survey data is visualized in real time for the event organizer. So that all sounds really good, but let me give you a real-life example of this. So our customer NASA uses Mixtroz for their supplier diversity events. Reason being, they want their attendees to come in and they want their attendees to be engaged with one another. When that happens, attendees are more likely to purchase, donate, sign up, and also keep coming back. So the attendees came into this event, they launched Mixtroz. Within 2 minutes, they got through our process. Mixtroz then facilitated who was going to sit with whom at lunch. It showed them their group and then also the table that they were moving to. That's what you're seeing in the bottom part of the screen. At the same time, while all that engagement was happening, NASA was able to derive data on their attendees, as was their sponsor, Regions Bank. In fact, Regions learned that only 30% of the attendees and businesses that were present actually banked with Regions at the time. So the other 70% became leads, and that's how we drive value to all three. We've been generating revenue with Mixtroz for quite some time. Today, we have a B2B SaaS model going, so you can get started with Mixtroz for as low as $249 for a single activation. But then we also have annual subscriptions that are used across our customers, generally enterprises, events, and education, so that they can purchase for the year and then use their mixes over the course of a calendar year. Here's a look at some of the brands that we've worked with so far over the course of our Mixtroz journey. Something that's interesting here is most of these brands came to us through word of mouth. We have natural virality, where when an attendee is satisfied by their Mixtroz experience, it is likely that they will tell somebody else about it, and then we get customers that way. We've only started our digital marketing within the last 60 days. So certainly there are people in our competitive landscape who understand the value of face-to-face in the digital age, but we really built our software different. Our founders, myself and my co-founder, we don't have technology backgrounds, but we do have expertise in the human asset. So we built a software that complements the way that people actually like to engage instead of trying to change their behavior, which is harder to do. The thing that we're most excited about at Mixtroz right now is the launch of our product, Mixtroz Virtual. This is actually not in response to coronavirus. Instead, it is an acceleration of something that was already on our product roadmap. So Mixtroz Virtual works pretty similar to Mixtroz Live in the sense that the attendee experience is very similar. So the attendee pulls up our application, again, web app or native app. They go through filling out their virtual name tag, and then they answer their question series. When it's time to meet, though, this time they are connected with their group of 2 to 9 others and then put into a virtual meeting space inside of Mixtroz. There, they are still given their group data so they can start that engagement, their icebreakers, and also a group activity if that's what the event host wants to do. So what's very interesting here is there are tons of video communication software, and we can pair with any of those pretty seamlessly, because what our customers have started to realize is that video communication softwares were really built to inform people one-to-many, and they are not built for peer-to-peer engagement, that facilitation piece, and that's what we are expert in, and so that's why our customers are coming to us. So I am Ashley Ammons. I've already kind of explained that, but my partner, interestingly, is actually my mom. She's a former HR executive. She's worked for a number of Fortune 5 and 100 companies. She led a global HR transformation for 120,000 employees. We are the 37th and 38th Black female founders to raise over $1 million in pre-seed funding. So in other words, we figure out how to get it done. We are currently raising a true seed round of funding because we have found our product market fit and we understand where we're going next. The biggest thing that's coming before us is we are transitioning to an actual touchless SaaS product, because what we recognize now is people are looking for a software like ours. We can see it all over the internet. We need to make it easier for them to find us and also easier for them to access the software on a recurring basis. So we are living in a third wave of technology, a time where we have Uber to pick us up and Wag to walk our dog. So it really makes sense that we would also have a software like Mixtroz to help us meaningfully connect each and every time that we engage. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Ashley, thank you. Questions for Mixtroz can go in the chat. First of all, we all noticed that you gave your mom the 37th slot and took the 38th for yourself. That was very good.
That's it.
I love that. Quick question for you. You mentioned you've only started to do digital advertising in the last 60 days, which puts you squarely in virtual world with no events. How were you mainly pushing up your virtual product, and how has adoption been for that?
It's been pretty good, honestly. What we're recognizing is we are a company that needs to grow based on marketing, not salespeople, because when we have salespeople in our organization, they complicate what is really an easy process. And so as we move toward becoming a true SaaS platform, we need to spend in marketing, and we know where our sweet spot is. So instead of right now in the virtual space going after educational institutions whose budgets are tapped, or going after enterprises where it's hard to get in touch with people at enterprises because they're working from home, don't know if their phones are routed to home, all that kind of stuff. We're going after people who are just searching for virtual events, how to make them better, that sort of thing. And we know that people are looking for those items. And what we've seen in comparison in the market, there are virtual event softwares who want to produce your event like the Today Show. And then there are just apps that do a little bit of everything. All of them say that they do networking, but they really don't specialize in that peer-to-peer engagement. The networking that they do is what you've seen in every app that you've used at a live event, which is one-to-one connections and, being able to chat with one another and that sort of thing. We really engineer the serendipity with our groups, and that's why it's working.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Mixtroz at the moment?
Anybody? I just did that good of a job. Thanks, everybody.
It was a good job. I will ask, do you have any new customers interested in when they can eventually be online, or are you kind of squarely focused again on virtual stuff right now?
No, I actually have some customers who are looking at us for the hybrid approach, because now we have a hybrid approach to gathering people, because, as people are looking forward at the events that they're going to do, they now recognize that, for the people who are attending online, they can still meaningfully connect them for networking. And then for the people who are there physically, we still have a product that those folks can utilize as well. I even see further down the line, like the events market is saying 45% of events moving forward will be some sort of hybrid model. So for people who are bringing people like in 2021 to an actual conference, the ability to connect those people meaningfully before they actually get on site at your conference is a really great thing, because then you are giving them like double the opportunity to create real connections. So we're excited for, what the future looks like there as well. Another thing that I'll say is, as far as customers, we really love customers with network effects, like TEDx, for example. TEDx is a great example of a customer where when it works for one, it naturally spreads to the others. And so we're really going after organizations that have a strong network effect, because once they use Mixtroz, they start talking about it and it spreads. It's that natural virality that we have.
Great. And I have one last question for you on pricing. And forgive me, I'm pulling this from my memory, but it seemed as though, so you've got yearly pricings with quite a few activations. I think I saw close to $5,000 for 48 or so.
You did, yes.
Could you go through that? Could you go through that pricing? And really, I'm asking to see if you'd thought about whether that pricing can be increased. Is that sort of well? Have you tested that out well? Just talk a little bit about pricing.
Yeah, so organizations are the ones who purchase those packages. So for example, at that $5,000 price point, like the Tech Association of Oregon recently purchased that, and they're purchasing those 48 mixes over the course of a calendar year. So when they're having a Zoom, they can also do a Mixtroz, you know, so it's the ability to be able to use those over the course of a year. You know, our larger organizations like Alabama Power is a large customer of ours. They purchase a package at a $20,000 price point, and they have 8 admins on that package. So it's 8 different departments that can pull from that one account, so they can layer Mixtroz in whenever they need to. And so when we think about events for us aren't the things that you go to with the bad wine and the cheese and the like flimsy chicken. Events are meetings, events are orientation, it's training, it's the day-to-day, it's the mundane. And that's what Mixtroz can help amplify, because people go to events in general to meet new people, not to hear content.
Great. Ashley, thanks so much. We're gonna, just in our last couple of minutes, we're gonna wrap it up. I will quickly say goodbye and kick it over to Carly to close us out. Thanks again to all of our founders coming, all of our investors for being here on a summer day. We really appreciate it. And Carly, I'm gonna kick it over to you to close us out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kate. Can you hear me okay? I think, like, just to echo what Kate said, thanks for being here to all the investors. Founders, great job. See you next week. To get in touch with the founders, you can reach out to them through us. We're happy to provide their information or make a connection for you. You can also go onto the Female Founded Club. They each have a profile, and you can contact them directly through the platform. So with that, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.